The camera lingered on a large, imposing kennel, its steel bars glinting under the dim shelter lights. Inside, a German shepherd lay curled tightly, his usually alert and proud posture replaced with a slumped, almost defeated air. His muzzle, once a symbol of unwavering vigilance, was now buried in his paws. His eyes, when they occasionally flickered open, held a profound sadness that seemed to permeate the very air around him. This was Odin, a K9 unit police dog, an animal whose spirit had once burned bright with purpose and loyalty, now a shadow of his former self, a poignant image hinting at a much deeper, more heartbreaking story waiting to unfold. Meanwhile, miles away from the quiet despair of the shelter, a different kind of resilience was being forged. Her name was Lily, a vibrant 8-year-old girl whose bright, inquisitive eyes missed nothing. She navigated the world with a grace that belied her age and her physical challenges, relying on a pair of sleek, silver crutches that had become an extension of her determined spirit. A congenital condition had altered her path, but never her destination, which always seemed to lead her towards kindness and understanding. Lily carried herself with an almost regal dignity, adapting to every hurdle with an unwavering optimism that inspired everyone around her. Her crutches whispered against the pavement as she moved, a rhythmic counterpoint to the boundless energy that coursed through her small frame. She possessed an innate ability to connect with creatures great and small, a silent language understood only by those whose hearts beat with genuine empathy. Her favorite haunt, a place where this connection flourished, was the local animal shelter. Not just any shelter, but the Northwood Animal Haven, renowned throughout the community for its innovative outreach programs and its unwavering commitment to finding forever homes for every animal. The shelter was a bustling hub of activity, a place where volunteers tirelessly worked to mend broken spirits and prepare their charges for new beginnings. Lily was a regular fixture there, her small hands often found gently stroking the fur of a timid cat or offering a comforting word to a nervous puppy. Her passion for animals wasn't merely a hobby. It was an intrinsic part of who she was, a calling that resonated deep within her soul. She believed every creature deserved love, safety, and a chance at happiness, a philosophy she lived by every single day. It was within the walls of this very shelter that Odin now found himself, a stark contrast to his previous life. Odin had been a legend, a decorated K9 officer whose keen senses and unwavering bravery had saved lives and apprehended dangerous criminals. But now, his police days were behind him, abruptly ended by an injury sustained in the line of duty. A brutal confrontation had left him with a severe leg injury, forcing his early retirement. The transition, however, had been far more difficult than anyone could have anticipated. Stripped of his purpose, confined to a kennel instead of patrolling the streets alongside his partner, Odin was struggling. The signs were undeniable. A profound depression had settled over him, and a fierce aggression, previously contained by years of rigorous training, now simmered just beneath the surface. He growled at shelter staff, lunged at unfamiliar hands, and recoiled from any attempt at comfort. The once proud police dog had become a troubled, unpredictable animal, leaving everyone at the shelter baffled and deeply concerned. His former handler, a man who had shared countless dangerous moments with Odin, now found himself unable to reach the dog, watching helplessly as his loyal companion retreated further into himself. This is just the beginning of a truly remarkable and heartwarming journey, one that will test the limits of empathy and reveal the extraordinary power of an unexpected bond. If you want to witness this incredible story unfold and be touched by more tales of courage and connection, remember to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single moment. Odin's history wasn't just impressive, it was legendary. He had served 5 rigorous years with the K9 unit, a decorated veteran known for his unwavering courage and keen intelligence. His service record was filled with commendations for tracking missing persons through treacherous terrains, apprehending dangerous suspects, and sniffing out contraband that others missed. He was a hero in every sense of the word, a true professional whose dedication to duty was unmatched. But his last mission had changed everything. A brutal confrontation with a fleeing suspect had left him with a severe leg injury, an impact so jarring and debilitating that it ended his illustrious career overnight. The physical recovery had been slow and painful, but it was the emotional wound that refused to heal. The trainers, who had seen countless working dogs retire, had never witnessed such a profound decline. Odin, once a paragon of strength and focus, now languished in his kennel, a shadow of his former self. He rejected all attempts at comfort. Shelter staff, seasoned in handling traumatized animals, found their usual techniques utterly ineffective. Even his former handler, a man with whom Odin had shared an unbreakable bond forged in high-stakes situations, was met with a low, mournful growl and a turned back. It was heartbreaking to watch, this once proud K9 reduced to such despair. His eyes, once bright with purpose, now held a deep, unsettling sadness that mirrored the trainer's growing concern. They exchanged worried glances, their conversations increasingly somber, fearing that Odin might never recover emotionally. The obstacle loomed large and daunting. With each passing day, Odin's withdrawal deepened. He refused food, snapped at approaching hands, and spent most of his time curled in a tight ball, facing the wall. The shelter staff, despite their boundless compassion, were at a loss. They knew that an animal in such a state, especially a large, reactive police dog, would be incredibly difficult to rehome. "Who would take him?" they'd whisper, their voices heavy with sorrow. They contemplated difficult decisions, the kind no animal lover ever wanted to make, about Odin's future. The worry wasn't just about his comfort, it was about his very existence. If he couldn't find peace, if he couldn't connect, what kind of life awaited him? The thought was unbearable. It was during one of her regular visits, a routine born of her profound love for all creatures, that Lily overheard these hushed, anguished discussions. Navigating the shelter hallways on her crutches, her ears acutely attuned to the subtle shifts in human emotion, she caught snippets of conversation about Odin, aggression, and no hope. Peeking around a corner, she saw him, a magnificent German shepherd, but one whose posture conveyed a crushing weight of sorrow she instantly recognized. He lay still, his gaze fixed on nothing, a raw wound of loneliness emanating from his very being. An immediate, inexplicable connection sparked within her, a deep empathy for his suffering that resonated with her own quiet battles. She understood what it felt like to be different, to feel isolated. Driven by this profound understanding, and despite the explicit warnings about Odin's unpredictable aggression, Lily felt an insistent pull to help. The staff had tried to gently steer her away, explaining the danger, recounting his snarls and bared teeth, but her resolve was unwavering. She saw past the fear, past the warnings, straight into the heart of a creature in pain. Her empathy transcended caution. She insisted on trying to interact with him, her small frame radiating a fierce determination that surprised even the most jaded of the shelter workers. "He just needs a friend," she stated simply, her voice clear and unwavering, echoing with a wisdom far beyond her 8 years. Lily's optimism, while unwavering, initially collided with Odin's deeply entrenched sorrow. Her first attempts at connection were met with the harsh reality of his emotional pain. As she tentatively approached his kennel, speaking in soft, reassuring tones, a low, guttural growl rumbled from deep within his chest, followed by a flash of bared teeth. His eyes, once vibrant with purpose, now held a haunted, almost manic glint that warned anyone to keep their distance. The lead trainer, a stern woman named Sarah who had overseen many K9 units, immediately stepped forward, placing a hand gently on Lily's shoulder. "See, Lily, he's not ready. He's telling you to stay away. It's too dangerous, sweetie." Her voice was laced with concern, but also a hint of frustration and skepticism. The other shelter staff echoed Sarah's sentiments, exchanging worried glances. They had all tried, exhausted every trick in their book, and Odin had remained a fortress of despair. Yet, Lily, despite the obvious danger and the palpable fear emanating from the adults around her, remained entirely undeterred. Her understanding of pain, perhaps stemming from her own daily battles, allowed her to see beyond the aggression, recognizing it as a shield rather than an inherent malice. The next day, and every day that followed, Lily returned. She wouldn't approach too closely, respecting the invisible boundary Odin had erected around himself. Instead, she chose a spot a few feet from his kennel, where she would sit quietly on the floor, her crutches leaning against the wall beside her. In her lap, she often held an open book, its pages filled with fantastical tales of brave knights and loyal companions. She would read aloud, her voice a gentle, rhythmic hum that filled the usually tense air around Odin's enclosure. Sometimes, she would simply hum soft, wordless melodies, tunes that her grandmother used to sing, creating a cocoon of calm in the chaotic shelter. There was no fear in her eyes, only a steadfast, unwavering understanding that seemed to penetrate even the thickest walls of Odin's despair. Over several agonizingly slow days, Odin's reactions, imperceptibly at first, began to shift. The immediate, aggressive snarls lessened, replaced by a more cautious, almost curious observation. His head, which had often been turned away in sullen rejection, would occasionally swivel towards Lily's direction. His ears, once flattened in an expression of perpetual sadness, would sometimes perk up, catching a particularly lyrical phrase from her reading or a subtle shift in her humming. He wasn't running to greet her, not by a long shot, but he wasn't actively rejecting her presence either. It was a minuscule change, almost imperceptible to the casual observer, but to Lily, who watched him with an almost preternatural sensitivity, it was a monumental breakthrough. She could feel the fragile tendrils of trust beginning to uncoil ever so slightly in the air between them. One afternoon, during one of her now regular sessions of quiet companionship, Lily arrived bearing a small, soft blanket. It was a simple thing, hand-stitched with colorful, mismatched squares, a testament to her hours of patient work. With deliberate, slow movements, she rose from her seated position, her crutches providing steady support, and approached the kennel bars. Odin watched her intently, his body tense, but the growl never materialized. Gently, carefully, she pushed the blanket through the bars, placing it softly on the concrete floor near where Odin usually lay. She didn't try to touch him, didn't say a word, just offered this small token of warmth. Odin sniffed at it cautiously for a long moment, his powerful nose twitching. Then, to the astonishment of a nearby handler who had been observing the entire interaction, he nudged it with his snout, then slowly, hesitantly, lay down, resting his head on the soft fabric. It was a small, yet profoundly significant gesture, a silent acknowledgement that Lily's kindness, undemanding and pure, was finally beginning to resonate within him. The seed of trust, painstakingly planted, had finally begun to sprout. The delicate dance of trust continued, each subtle movement by Lily a careful negotiation, each almost imperceptible response from Odin a tiny victory. Then, one particularly warm afternoon, a true turning point arrived. Lily, as was her routine, sat patiently by his kennel, reading aloud from her dog-eared book. The air was still, heavy with unspoken expectations. Odin had been watching her, a quiet intensity in his gaze that was far removed from the vacant stares of his earlier days. Suddenly, with a fluidity that surprised even himself, he rose from where he was lying, his massive frame moving with a newfound purpose. He approached the bars of his kennel, not with a threatening stance, but with hesitant curiosity. Lily paused her reading, her heart thrumming a soft, hopeful rhythm against her ribs. Slowly, she extended her small hand, palm open, offering it to him without fear. Odin's large, wet nose gently bumped against her fingertips, a soft, warm contact that lasted only a moment but felt like an eternity. It was a tentative, yet profoundly significant sign of acceptance. The barrier, once insurmountable, had been breached. This small, intimate interaction, witnessed by one of the shelter's most experienced trainers, sparked a cautious optimism. After much discussion and careful consideration, with a palpable air of apprehension, they granted Lily a hesitant permission to enter Odin's run. The decision was not made lightly. Odin was still a powerful animal with a history of aggression, but the transformation they had observed in his demeanor over Lily's visits was undeniable, almost miraculous. Lily received their instructions with quiet reverence, understanding the gravity of the trust placed in her. Moving slowly, deliberately, she navigated the rough concrete floor of the run, her crutches providing steady, rhythmic support. Each step was measured, each breath held in a delicate balance of excitement and caution. She didn't rush toward him, didn't make any sudden movements, but instead found a spot a short distance away from him, carefully lowering herself onto the ground. She sat there, a small figure in the vastness of his enclosure, radiating an unparalleled calm. Odin watched her, his head cocked slightly, a soft whine escaping his throat that was more inquiry than threat. He remained still for what felt like an eternity, assessing, understanding. The moments stretched, filled only by the gentle ambient sounds of the shelter. Then, with a slow, almost deliberate grace, Odin began to move. He walked over to Lily, his steps heavy but unhurried, his eyes never leaving hers. He didn't lunge, didn't bark, didn't growl. Instead, he simply nudged her hand with his nose, a soft, insistent pressure. Lily, her eyes welling with unshed tears, softly stroked his head, her fingers tracing the thick fur around his ears. And in that moment, something shifted irrevocably. Odin leaned into her touch, pressing his big head against her small hand. A deep, contented sigh rumbling in his chest. It was the first physical comfort he had accepted from a human since his injury. A raw, vulnerable surrender that spoke volumes. The trainers, who had been observing the entire interaction from a discreet distance, were utterly astonished. Whispers of disbelief and awe rippled through their small group. They had worked with countless police dogs, seen their bonds with handlers, understood the intricacies of their behavior. But this was different. This was beyond their training manuals, beyond their experience. They had never, in all their years, witnessed Odin respond to anyone in such a gentle, trusting, and openly affectionate way since the incident that had forced his retirement. His previous handlers and the most patient of shelter staff had been met with suspicion, hostility, or, at best, a grudging tolerance. Yet, here he was, melting under the soft touch of a little girl, his powerful body relaxed, his eyes soft and trusting. The sight was deeply moving, a testament to the profound nature of a bond forged not through command or reward, but through pure, unwavering empathy. It was clear that something truly extraordinary had unfolded in that quiet space, a connection that defied logic and healed the deepest wounds of the heart. Lily continued her daily visits, and with each passing day, Odin's transformation became more and more profound, a truly remarkable unveiling of the dog he once was. The once sullen, withdrawn police dog now greeted her with an enthusiastic tail wag, a low rumble of contentment in his chest that had replaced the growls. He would nuzzle his large head into her hand, seeking her gentle touch, his eyes, once clouded with despair, now sparkling with an undeniable eagerness. He would push his nose into her side, a silent demand for affection, a beautiful counterpoint to the quiet solitude he had embraced for so long. The shelter staff, who at first had been skeptical, then astonished, now simply watched in awe as this extraordinary bond deepened before their very eyes. They spoke in hushed tones about the Odin effect, a phenomenon only Lily seemed capable of orchestrating. Their connection wasn't just superficial. It delved much deeper, becoming a mutual journey of healing. Lily, in turn, found a unique solace in Odin's silent presence. She would often talk to him, sharing her own quiet struggles with her congenital condition, the frustrations of managing her crutches, the moments of feeling different or left out. He would listen intently, his head cocked, his expressive eyes reflecting an understanding that transcended words. In those moments, Lily felt a profound sense of not being alone, knowing that Odin too carried his own burdens, his own silent battles from a life of service and sacrifice. Their shared vulnerability created a powerful, unspoken empathy that bound them inextricably together. With Odin, she didn't have to pretend to be strong. She could simply exist, and he would accept her completely. Odin's progress wasn't limited to his emotional state. His physical health and behavior also saw dramatic improvements. The trainers were astounded. He started to play again, a behavior they hadn't witnessed since before his injury. A frayed tennis ball, once ignored, was now enthusiastically chased and retrieved, dropped proudly at Lily's feet. He rediscovered the joy of tearing apart a squeaky toy, his powerful jaws making short work of the plastic, a stark contrast to his previous lethargy. Even more remarkably, he began to attempt short, supervised walks with Lily outside his run. She would lead him slowly, her crutches carefully navigating the terrain, and he would match her pace, his steps no longer heavy with defeat but infused with a newfound energy. He moved with a renewed purpose, his ears perked, his tail often wagging, a shadow of his former self now fading into the past. The shelter staff and the former K-9 unit trainers, who had initially been at their wits' end, officially recognized the extraordinary nature of Lily and Odin's connection. They held meetings, discussing the unprecedented turn of events. "It's beyond anything we've ever seen," one trainer admitted, shaking her head in disbelief. "He's a different dog with her. It's like she unlocked something deep inside him." His overall mood had shifted from perpetual sadness to quiet contentedness, punctuated by bursts of playful energy. His appetite had improved, his coat looked healthier, and the lingering limp from his injury seemed less pronounced, almost as if his renewed spirit was aiding his physical recovery. They understood that this wasn't just a casual friendship, it was a profound therapeutic bond. a symbiotic relationship that had saved Odin from a bleak future and, in its own way, had brought immeasurable joy and strength to Lily. The question now, however, was what this profound connection truly meant for Odin's future and for Lily's own blossoming heart. The slow, painstaking process of trust-building eventually blossomed into an undeniable, powerful bond. Lily's daily visits became the highlight of Odin's otherwise solitary existence. He would greet her with an enthusiasm that had been utterly absent for months, his tail a blur of motion, his deep barks now sounding more like eager welcomes than threats. Their connection was a phenomenon that baffled and delighted the shelter staff. Odin, once a symbol of unapproachable sadness, now embodied a remarkable transformation. He would nuzzle her hand, his large head fitting perfectly into the crook of her arm as she stroked his fur, his body relaxed and pliant under her touch. This mutual healing was not one-sided. Lily found immense solace in Odin's unwavering presence. She often spoke to him about her own congenital condition, the frustrations, the pain, and the moments of profound loneliness that came with navigating a world not always designed for her. Odin, in his silent, understanding way, offered a space where she felt truly seen and accepted, free from judgment or pity. With him, she felt less like a girl with crutches and more like a girl with a best friend who simply understood. Odin, once a shadow of his former self, began to rediscover the joy of life. Play, a behavior he had entirely abandoned post-injury, slowly re-entered his world. He would fetch balls and tug on ropes, his movements still favoring his injured leg, but executed with a renewed spirit. Short, supervised walks with Lily became an exercise in mutual discovery, his powerful frame moving carefully beside her as she navigated with her crutches. The shelter staff and trainers, having witnessed this incredible metamorphosis firsthand, could no longer ignore the undeniable evidence of their bond. Odin's physical health improved as his emotional well-being soared. His coat regained its luster, his eyes sparkled with intelligence and affection, and the underlying anxiety that had plagued him seemed to dissipate. It was clear that Lily was not just a visitor. She was an essential component of Odin's recovery, a catalyst for his return to wholeness. However, amidst this heartwarming progress, a new and complex challenge began to emerge, one that tugged at the fabric of their idyllic daily routine. The question of Odin's permanent home, initially pushed to the back burner, now loomed large and unavoidable. While the bond between Lily and Odin was self-evident and deeply moving, Lily's family lived in a modest apartment. It was a loving home, certainly, but simply unsuitable for a large, high-energy police dog, even one as recalibrated as Odin. The sheer physical space required for his comfort, coupled with the daily exercise demands of a canine breed, presented an insurmountable practical obstacle. Lily, with the acute intuition of a child deeply connected to her animal companion, sensed the unspoken anxieties swirling around the adults. The prospect of separation filled her with a profound, almost unbearable heartbreak. She knew that Odin needed more space, more freedom than her apartment could offer, yet the thought of him living anywhere else, with anyone else, was a torment. Her family, while incredibly supportive of her bond with Odin, also saw the stark practical realities. They loved Odin too, but they understood the limitations of their living situation. Their conversations, often hushed and tinged with regret, centered on finding a solution that would be best for Odin, even if it meant a heartbreaking separation for Lily. As the story of Lily and Odin's extraordinary connection began to quietly spread through the small, tight-knit community, it touched hearts far beyond the shelter walls. People were genuinely moved by their tale. The little girl with crutches who had unlocked the spirit of a depressed police dog. There was an outpouring of local support, with community members expressing a collective desire to help. They wanted to ensure this unique bond could somehow endure. The shelter staff, recognizing the profound impact of this story, along with Lily's family, began to explore all conceivable options. The discussions revolved around finding a larger foster home, perhaps one with a sprawling backyard, or even identifying a suitable permanent adopter. Crucially, any such arrangement would need to explicitly allow Lily continued, frequent access to Odin, ensuring their vital connection was not severed. The unspoken hope was that a practical solution could be found that honored their bond while providing Odin with the space and environment he deserved. The local news station, always on the lookout for stories that transcended the everyday, caught wind of Lily and Odin's compelling narrative. A roving reporter, captivated by the raw emotion and undeniable human-animal connection, pitched the story to her producers. Soon, cameras and lights converged on the animal shelter, transforming the quiet facility into a temporary media hub. The segment aired during prime time, a poignant expose highlighting their unique bond and the heart-wrenching challenge of finding Odin a suitable permanent home. The reporter's empathetic narration, coupled with footage of Lily gently coaxing a playful bark from Odin, and the visible despair of the shelter staff regarding Odin's future without Lily, struck a deep chord with viewers across the nation. The story, uploaded immediately to the station's digital platforms, swiftly went viral. The public outpouring was immediate and overwhelming. Thousands of messages, emails, and phone calls poured into the shelter, the news station, and even Lily's family directly. Sympathy and admiration for Lily's unwavering spirit and Odin's remarkable transformation flooded their inboxes. People from every corner of the country expressed genuine willingness to adopt Odin, but with a critical understanding and explicit condition. Lily had to remain an integral part of his life. Families offered to open their homes, their hearts, and their sprawling backyards to the retired K9, all united by the singular desire to preserve the extraordinary bond they had witnessed. Many offers included assurances of regular visits, dedicated playtimes, and even promises of overnight stays for Lily, ensuring their connection would not be severed by distance or circumstance. Among the deluge of offers, one particular proposal stood out. A large local family, the Millers, with a sizable property nestled on the outskirts of town and a wealth of experience caring for working dog breeds, came forward. Their home boasted several acres of fenced land, purpose-built dog runs, and a deep understanding of the needs of a magnificent animal like Odin. They had followed the news story and were profoundly moved by Lily's gentle courage and Odin's quiet resilience. Their offer was not just to adopt Odin. It was a promise to embrace Lily as an extended part of their family. They proposed adopting Odin with the explicit condition that Lily could visit and spend time with him regularly, not just for a few hours, but even inviting her to stay over frequently, ensuring their bond could continue to flourish without artificial constraints. This offer presented a beacon of hope, a potential resolution to the seemingly impossible dilemma. Lily's family, after long, heartfelt discussions and several visits to the Millers' beautiful and welcoming home, began to see a path forward. They cautiously observed the Millers' interactions with their own dogs, noting their kindness, their knowledge, and their genuine affection for animals. They saw the spacious fields where Odin could run freely, the comfortable kennels, and the warmth of a family eager to share their lives with both Odin and Lily. After careful consideration, weighing the practicalities against the emotional needs of both Lily and Odin, they came to an emotional yet profound decision. They agreed that this was, unequivocally, the best solution for Odin's long-term well-being and, crucially, for Lily's continued happiness. The agony of potential separation began to recede, replaced by a cautious optimism for a future where their beloved K9 could thrive, and Lily's heart could remain intertwined with his. It was a testament to the power of community, empathy, and the unwavering spirit of a little girl whose love had healed a broken hero. Odin, with a grace that belied his powerful frame, settled into his new life on the sprawling farm. It was a place of endless green fields, surrounded by ancient oak trees, and the air hummed with the gentle buzz of insects and the distant lowing of cattle. This was a true canine paradise, a stark contrast to the sterile kennels of the shelter or the confines of an apartment. He had space to run, to patrol, to simply be a dog, unburdened by the weight of past duties or the anxieties of confinement. The family who adopted him, kind-hearted people with a deep understanding of working breeds, welcomed him not just as a pet, but as a cherished member of their unconventional household. They had 2 other rescue dogs, equally spirited, who provided Odin with canine companionship and a healthy outlet for play. Lily's visits were frequent, each one a joyous reunion that reinforced the unbreakable thread connecting their souls. Her family, grateful for the incredible generosity of Odin's new owners, often brought her to the farm on weekends and during school breaks. As promised, she wasn't just a guest, she was family. Sometimes she would even spend a night or two, waking up to the sounds of the farm and the eager whines of Odin waiting patiently by her bedroom door. Their bond, far from weakening with the distance, seemed to deepen with the freedom and happiness that Odin now possessed. Watching them play was a sight to behold. Lily, now more confident and agile on her crutches, would toss a faded tennis ball across the vast lawn, and Odin, with a burst of his old K9 speed, would race after it, his powerful legs eating up the ground. He'd return, panting happily, the ball gently held in his mouth, his eyes fixed on Lily, waiting for her next command, her next laugh. They would lie together in the shade of a large oak, Lily reading aloud from a book, her soft voice a calming balm, while Odin's head rested comfortably on her lap, his breathing deep and even. He would nuzzle her hand, his rough tongue offering gentle licks, a silent testament to the unwavering affection he held for his small rescuer. It was more than just a girl and her dog. It was a testament to the profound, healing connection that exists between a child and an animal. Lily, who had once felt defined by her crutches, now walked with an undeniable stride of purpose and joy, a reflection of the inner strength that Odin had helped her rediscover. And Odin, the once broken hero, found his true purpose not in apprehending criminals, but in the soft touch of a child's hand, in the shared silences under a summer sky, in the unconditional love that had pulled him back from the brink. Their story became a quiet legend in the community, a reminder that empathy, often dismissed as a soft emotion, possesses an astonishing power to transform lives. It showed that kindness, extended without expectation, can mend the deepest wounds, whether physical or emotional. It offered a poignant message of hope, illustrating how connection can be found in the most unexpected of places, between the unlikeliest of pairs. Lily and Odin taught everyone a fundamental truth, that sometimes the greatest strength lies not in brute force, but in the gentle persistence of a loving heart. Their journey concluded not with a grand finale, but with the quiet, sustained joy of everyday moments. A wagging tail, a comforting presence, the unbreakable bond forged in empathy and sustained by love. It was a powerful reminder for all of us that in a world often seeking complex solutions, the most profound transformations often begin with the simplest act of kindness, a moment of connection that ripple outward, changing not just two lives, but inspiring countless others. If this story of Lily and Odin has touched your heart, please remember to like this video, share it with your friends and family, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring and heartwarming tales of hope, resilience, and the extraordinary power of connection. We believe that every life, human or animal, deserves a chance at happiness, and every story carries a lesson worth sharing. Join our community and let's spread these messages of love and understanding together.